welcome to episode 45 of the FusionCast. Very pleased to be joined today by some special guests from our Z brethren. We've got Thomas Stober, STSM for System Z, and also Matt Whitbourne, Director of Product Management for ZOS and Virtualization, joined by frequent flyer and occasional co-host Brandon Mann as well. So guys, thanks for joining. Matt and Thomas, thanks so much for joining us from your time zones far away from where Brandon and I are. So what we want to talk about this week is we recently announced some new capabilities on Fusion specifically to support System Z. We all know that the Z platform is really kind of in the vanguard of our customer base. I often tell people who are perhaps not as familiar with the mainframe, in the storage world, we don't often get to have a lot of interesting mainframe discussions, but I sort of tell people, the probability that you go through a typical day in your life without something you do in some way, shape, or form touching a mainframe is highly unlikely, whether it's a financial transaction or some kind of a research initiative or a healthcare thing or something to do with whatever. The mainframe is everywhere for a reason. It is the predominant kind of enterprise grade platform for super duper high throughput and low latency transaction processing at massive scale. So with the Z infomercial out of the way, let's dive right into it. So Matt, I'm going to start with you. So you run the PM group for Z, Linux on Z for virtualization and OS. Give us your perspective on where you think the storage brand working together with Z on Fusion in particular and specifically is going to really add value for our customer base.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Randy. So as you said, very eloquently, actually, as well, you should do our Z advertising for us. The role that the mainframe plays is still vital, like in the world's economy. So we're talking about, as you said, 45 out of the top 50 banks, many of the world's insurance companies, retail, etc. And it really is right at the heart of it's actually doing the heavy lifting in terms of the core sort of transaction processing. What we've seen, and I would say especially over the last 5 to 10 years, we continue to see growth in terms of people's traditional workloads, traditional applications. A lot of our growth, though, really has come on the Linux on Z side of things. And we're seeing that both with clients who are looking to extend those traditional assets, traditional workloads that they've got, but also completely new clients as well. So some people who don't have any history of having a mainframe at all, they just want the best transaction processing, data serving platform that they can possibly get, which is why our Linux on Z story is essential. And as part of that, making sure that we have a vibrant ecosystem of offerings both inside IBM, like in terms of our products and what we deliver. Obviously, our partnerships with the likes of storage being essential as part of that, and has been key for us over many generations of the platform. But and also as well, like going into the third parties and the open source community as well. But the great thing I think about this partnership here is really about that need for how do we deliver a persistent storage solution specifically on the Linux on Z side, and in particular, this is a lot of the bedrock of enabling a lot of our Cloud Pak exploitation as well. So that ability to be able to take all of the different Cloud Paks and deploy them at enterprise grade levels is absolutely like vital for us. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the growth on the Z brand side of things. And that's where we're also seeing a lot of the investment from our clients.
Awesome. So Brandon, let's go down a level and talk a little bit about what specifically what we have announced and what we're going to be also offering or announcing on November 2nd. What are the capabilities we're talking about here, just to bring it down to a feature and function level?
Yeah, sure. And I think Thomas will get into this a little bit deeper as well. But Fusion on Z, so we're both announced support for Data Foundation and Scale, which has been part of the offering for a bit now, but more importantly is our backup and restore service. So our first iteration that was released in our 2.6 offering is the ability to do backup and restore, but still requiring the hub of a hub and spoke architecture, the hub still being required on an x86 architecture. In our upcoming release in 2.7 coming November 2nd, we'll actually then port that over and have the ability to have the hub on our Z on OpenShift or OpenShift on Z with Fusion. So a lot of great capabilities. I think that, obviously our Z platform is front and center of mission critical kind of workloads. So the requirement for being able to do backup and restore, as well as DR kind of capabilities, right? So those are some things that we're definitely seeing. The thing that I think Matt touched upon, and we're seeing here in most of our conversations, is our biggest clients, they definitely have OpenShift on Z, right? They have that landscape, but they're also looking at it. They have some that's on x86, some that's on Z, and there's a balance between the two, right? So what things run best on Z, what things, might be more prevalent on x86, and having that commonality of platform across the two architectures is critical, right? This is a space that customers don't have enough skills in. So the more that they can leverage a common skill set, I think is tremendous value to almost every customer that I've talked to. We can name off a few. We've been having discussions with Citi and a number of others. But that is one of the key values that I think is forefront. Thomas, you want to
well, Thomas, just real quickly, I want to interject that you raise a really interesting point, and we're kind of bringing these things together in the context of our largest, most strategic customers worldwide, our mainframe customers, as we've talked about. They're also rapidly adopting OpenShift, which is a big part of the reason why, we acquired Red Hat some years back, right? So if you think about this full hybrid stack solution that encompasses all the platforms we service and support and sell, including Z, Fusion is really providing some of the kind of glue or the connective tissue to bring all those things together to make OpenShift, the full stack OpenShift everywhere and anywhere, kind of a reality. So really, really cool, really exciting. So yeah, Thomas, maybe give us a little bit more detail on how this all works and what the kind of value prop is.
Sure. And let me again stress on the significance. So, Brandon, what you just said, it's not just a licensing bundle of Fusion. So really, it's much more. It's this common skill set. And we're bringing together storage scale and ODF, now Fusion Data Foundation, really to a consistent user experience, to a multi-architecture skill set. And this is really cool. By reducing the barrier for adoption and enhancing consumability. So this is really cool. And also for the significance, what I would like to stress is that if we look at these additional capabilities, which Fusion now adds on top of what Scale and ODF or FDF bring on the table, we now have these additional added value services like backup and restore. So on the one hand side, it's cool to have these additional services. On the other hand side, it's really a step towards unification, because what's now possible is that you have a consistent way to do DR, to do backup restore, which applies just exactly the same for Scale as well as for ODF or Fusion Data Foundation. So erasing really the API or the interference of the customer with the system one level higher, which is a strong value add. And also,
No, sorry, Thomas, go ahead.
One more sentence, and this also I think is cool. If you look at the Kubernetes OpenShift space, that we're now talking about DR and backup and restore from an application namespace perspective. So it's much more fine-grained what we're doing than classic hardcore disk mirroring, disk backup. So really having a fine-grained way to deal with this.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting point that I wanted to drill into a little bit, is the fact that now Z customers will be able to back up at a much more granular namespace and PV level, as opposed to sort of a macro disk level, which is valuable and important, of course, but it's limited in terms of your recoverability, your, RTO, RPO discussion. So again, normalizing that across all these platforms is really important. I think it also, and you guys, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. I think this is also yet another way that, the System Z, the mainframe, used to be sort of, I don't want to say isolated, but it kind of did its own very specific things in its own kind of very, segregated, isolated environment. And now it's much more integrated in the broader multi-platform hybrid cloud story. And this is another step forward in that. Matt, do you hear that as a requirement from customers as they move forward with their Z platform?
Yeah, and I mean, in fact, I'd say it's been something we've been working on some time to make sure that we really are a true first-class participant, in a hybrid cloud. And I think a lot of that, initially started around things like integration, connectivity. So making sure there's things like REST APIs, etc., like right across the platform, whether that's on ZOS or Linux on Z. But also then thinking about how do we get a standard DevOps pipeline? How do we use things like Ansible, like for automation? Now, I think as well, you guys were talking about the skills side of things. I mean, that's really vital for us because we kind of, I think, want to get to the point from a platform where in terms of the skills that you need, we want to be kind of a platform like any other, so you can use more and more industry standard skills. But at the same time, the core values that we actually have kind of baked in, we're a platform like no other, because the fact that we talk about, we're Z because we're the system of near zero downtime. We talk about 7 nines or 8 nines of availability. So like either between like 3 and 0.3 sort of seconds of downtime a year on average. So making sure we can get that balance right, really, between we want to unlock all of these capabilities in an industry standard way. What you guys are talking about, that ability of the more granularity and targeting from a recoverability standpoint, is really, really important. But at the same time, really take advantage of the inherent strengths that the platform has.
So Brandon, I wanted to kind of run this one by you. We've talked at different times about ways that we're working closely with Red Hat to not only, provide benefits, for us and for our brands, but also to expand opportunities for Red Hat to proliferate in the enterprise, right? And obviously the Z platform is, you can't get more enterprise, embedded than Z. So talk a little bit about how this allows Red Hat to go attack a broader segment of that enterprise market as well.
Yeah, so I think that, not only all of the levels of 9 of availability and resiliency that Z brings to the platform, but really from a optimization standpoint, we're hearing a lot of customers trying to do consolidation of workloads, right? So x86 is great. It's broad, it's general use kind of aspects, but if you're really looking to maximize some of your investments, especially those that already have made investments on the Z platform, we're hearing stories of consolidation of workloads. When you're looking at vCPUs on the x86 versus an IFL on the Z side, anywhere from 6 to 60 kind of X improvement or operationalized benefits. So I mean, that's huge. So you have cost savings from running the platform, you have cost savings then on licensing. So there's a huge benefit. And at the same time, it's not coming at a cost in terms of skills and resources, right? So if you have that commonality of platform and resources that can leverage the same the same API calls, the same pipelines, it's best of both worlds. So I think that really is the value that we bring across the broader, right? IBM, Red Hat, all of the pieces of IBM infrastructure, nobody else can compete in that manner.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. If I could just build on it, one thing that you were saying there, because you're absolutely right. A lot of the history again had been people like looking at extending their existing Z footprints with Linux on Z. The fact is now that we're getting completely net new people, you're right. There's the premium that kind of comes with the qualities of service of the platform, but the numbers are still going to add up, like at the end of the day, like in order to be able to make that work. So those consolidation factors are absolutely key, just in terms of the way the system's designed, how much work we're able to run. And you mentioned City earlier. I mean, they won that award recently for their Mongo deployment, and they could have chosen they've got some Z heritage, but in many ways this is nothing to do with their existing sort of ZOS footprint. This was just the best platform that they could get.
All right, so we're coming up to the top of the hour. Thomas, I'm told that you skipped out on another session to be with us, and that session happened to be focused on a demo of some of these capabilities. So as we talk about next steps and kind of what's coming in terms of additional information in more detail, can you give us a little overview of that, or a little sneak preview?
Yes, sure. So we'll bring this now to action. So bring all these pieces together. We have a demo prepared, which you can show at a convenient time, really how this can be applied to Z, the new model of backup restore, where you have this hub server orchestrating all the backups and keeping track of all this, and the spoke, the client basically on the system, which does the action under the hood. So that's ready. We can show this. This is real stuff, what's happening right now.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been a really, really useful discussion. Thank you, Matt and Thomas, for joining Brandon and I today. For everyone watching, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any or all of us. We'll make sure to get them answered. Your Z customers are hungry for solutions like this. So if you haven't already started, start telling them about it. As we have additional resources like demos and more technical sessions available, we will publish those and make them available. Matt, Thomas, would love to have you back in the future as we roll this out and get more traction with it. Let's keep the discussion going. But I'll thank everybody for watching and tuning in. Join us again next week for the next episode. And as always, if you have any ideas for future episodes, please let us know and we will get them on the production schedule. So thanks, everyone. Thanks, gentlemen. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks to you all.